On the crystal world of Elandoria, morning light filled the tall windows of the grand library of memories. The light made rainbow colors dance across the shelves that held thousands of years of elven knowledge. Chief Archivist Lily Starfall moved, between the shelves, her slender fingers touching the spines of ancient books. Her long silver hair was tied in a simple braid that reached her waist, and her pale blue skin seemed to glow in the morning light. Ember, her small dragon companion, followed, close behind, leaving tiny claw marks on the polished stone floor. The dragon was no bigger than a house cat with scales that shifted between red and gold, depending on her mood. Today they shimmered with excitement as she sensed her master's determination. Lily had worked in the library for over 200 years, yet she had never been allowed access to the Forbidden Wing until now. The High Council had finally granted her request, after decades of perfect service. She stood before the sealed door, her heart racing as she placed her palm against the ancient wood. The door recognized her energy signature and slowly creaked open, revealing a chamber that had not been entered in centuries. The air inside was thick with dust and forgotten memories. Ember sneezed, sending a small puff of flame into the air. Lily smiled at her little friend and stepped inside. The room was smaller than she expected, with only a single bookshelf and a stone pedestal in the center. "What secrets do you hold?" she wondered, as she approached the pedestal. On it lay a single metal disc about the size of her palm. The disc was made of a strange material that was not quite metal and not quite crystal. It had strange markings etched into its surface, markings that reminded her of the stories she had heard as a child. Humans. Lily whispered the word like a forbidden spell. For as long as elves had recorded history, they had told stories of humans, powerful, adaptable beings who once traveled the stars before disappearing. During the Great Collapse, most elves believed humans were just myths, creatures invented to scare children into behaving. "Do not be reckless like the humans," they would say. "Do not reach too far, like the humans did." But Lily had always wondered. There were too many stories, too many artifacts that hinted at something real behind the legends. Lily placed the disc in her pocket and continued searching through the room. She found old scrolls and tattered maps that showed star systems she had never seen before. And then she found it hidden behind a loose stone in the wall, an ancient navigational chart sealed in a protective case. She carefully unfolded the chart on a nearby table. Ember hopped up and watched with curious eyes. The chart showed a section of space beyond the Emerald Nebula, a region elven ships never entered. According to elven astronomers, nothing existed beyond that point, just empty space. But the chart showed something else, an unmarked region that pulsed with strange energy readings, energy patterns that matched descriptions from the human legends. Lily knew she should report her finding to the High Council. Elder Willow, her mentor and superior, would expect nothing less, but something inside her hesitated. These artifacts had been hidden for a reason. Perhaps the Council already knew what lay beyond the Emerald Nebula. Perhaps they had been keeping secrets. Ember nudged her hand, sensing her conflict. The little dragon had been with Lily since hatching in Nyake. Unusual companion for an elf. Most dragons bonded with warriors or mages, not librarians. But Ember had chosen Lily, picking her out of hundreds of elves during the bonding ceremony 20 years ago. "We need to see for ourselves." Lily decided, wrapping the chart carefully and placing it in her satchel along with the metal disc. The council might forbid her from investigating if she asked permission. Better to seek forgiveness than permission. That night, while most of Elandoria slept, Lily packed essential supplies for her journey. The elven scout ship she had been given for research expeditions was small and fast, perfect for slipping past the automated defense systems that surrounded their world. Ember seemed unusually energetic, her scales glowing bright gold as she flew in circles around Lily's quarters. Just as Lily finished packing, there was a knock at her door. Her heart sank when she opened it to find Elder Willow standing in the hallway. The ancient elf had pale green skin and eyes that had seen 1,000 years of elven history. Her white hair was arranged in complex braids that signified her high rank. "Going somewhere?" Willow asked, her eyes falling on Lily's packed bag. Lily considered lying, but knew Willow would see through Any deception. I found something in the forbidden wing, she admitted. Something about humans. Willow's expression darkened. I suspected you might. Some secrets are kept for good reasons. Lily, then they are real? Lily asked, unable to hide her excitement. Humans existed, Willow corrected. We do not know if any survived the Great Collapse, and it is better that way. The Council believes some knowledge is too dangerous. Some paths should not be walked again. Lily stood her ground with rare defiance. If humans still exist, we should know. We should learn from the past, not hide from it. Willow sighed. I cannot stop you. You have already made up your mind. I see it in your eyes. But know this. Disturbing ancient secrets might bring destruction upon our peaceful civilization. Be careful what you awaken. Lily Starfall. With those ominous words, Willow left Lily trembling in her doorway. Ember landed on her shoulder, offering comfort with a soft purr. But Willow's warning had only strengthened Lily's resolve. She needed to know the truth. Before dawn, Lily and Ember boarded her scout ship. The vessel was designed to blend with the stars, its crystalline hull reflecting the space around it, making it nearly invisible. The controls responded to Lily's thoughts, a perfect melding of elven technology and magic. She guided the ship away from the spired cities of Elandoria toward the swirling gases of the Emerald Nebula. For 3 days they traveled in silence, passing through regions of space no elf had visited in centuries. Lily studied the ancient chart, comparing it to her ship's readings. The metal disk she had found seemed to pulse stronger as they approached the nebula's edge, almost as if it were calling to something. On the 4th day, they reached the boundary. The nebula formed a perfect wall of swirling green gases that blocked all scans beyond. Lily hesitated, remembering Willow's warning. But Ember chirped eagerly, pushing her snout against the view screen. Here goes nothing, Lily whispered, as she guided the ship forward. The moment they passed through the nebula wall, everything changed. The ship's systems flickered as strange energy waves washed over them. Alarms blared, warning of system failures. Lily fought with the controls, trying to stabilize their path. But the ship spun helplessly in the energy storm. Ember screeched in alarm, her scales turning deep red with fear. Lily reached for her, trying to offer comfort. But the gravitational systems were failing. The little dragon floated across the cabin, bouncing against the walls. And then, as suddenly as it began, the storm ended. The ship drifted in peaceful space, the systems slowly coming back online. Lily managed to grab Ember, holding the frightened dragon close to her chest. Where are we? She wondered, looking out at unfamiliar stars. The navigation system was still rebooting, unable to provide their location. A warning signal caught her attention. Something was approaching fast. From the swirling cosmic gases emerged a vessel, unlike anything Lily had ever seen. It was larger than her scout ship, with sleek lines and powerful engines that glowed blue against the darkness of space. The ship's markings bore symbols eerily similar to those on the metal disc she had found. Lily stared in wonder and fear as the vessel drew closer. Ember growled deep in her throat, her entire body tensing with protective instinct. The communication system suddenly activated, and a voice spoke in a language Lily had never heard before. Yet, somehow she understood the meaning. Unknown vessel, identify yourself. Lily froze, uncertain how to respond. The metal disc in her pocket seemed to burn with energy, almost as if answering the call. Without thinking, she pulled it out and held it toward the communications panel. The disc glowed brightly, pulsing in a strange pattern. The unknown ship fell silent for a long moment. Then the voice returned, speaking in perfect Elven. Impossible. We thought your kind was extinct. Prepare for boarding. Lily felt fear and excitement in equal measure as the larger ship extended a docking tube toward her disabled vessel. Ember coiled around her neck like a living scarf, her small body trembling. The ancient myths were real. The legends had come to life as the airlock opened and the first figure stepped aboard. Lily saw a being that matched the descriptions from the forbidden texts. Skin like pale sand, hair the color of earth, and eyes that seemed too knowing, too determined. A human Lily Starfall chief, archivist of Elandoria, was about to become the first elf in 1,000 years to speak with a legend. Commander Abby Winters stood on the bridge of the Earth Federation starship Vanguard. her eyes fixed on the view screen. The strange vessel they had detected drifting at the nebula edge was unlike anything in Federation records. The crystalline hull seemed to shift and change, reflecting the stars around it, making it hard to maintain visual lock. "This is definitely not Centaurian or Proximan design," Abby said to her first officer, Tara, who stood at the sensor station. "The ship has no weapon signatures, but the energy readings are off the charts." After centuries of isolation following the Nexus Wars, humans had rebuilt their civilization, expanding carefully through nearby star systems. The Federation protocol was clear regarding unknown vessels. Investigate but approach with caution. The galaxy held many dangers, and humanity had learned harsh lessons about first contact. "Deploy scanning drones," Abby ordered. "Keep weapon systems on standby." The bridge crew moved with practiced efficiency. Their black uniforms with silver trim marked them as members of the Exploration Division rather than military. But all Federation ships maintained defensive capabilities. Abby had served on the Vanguard for 5 years, gradually working her way up to command. She was known for her caution and analytical approach, qualities that had kept her crew safe in uncertain situations. The scanning drones transmitted their findings to the main screen. The vessel was small, barely larger than a shuttle. Its systems appeared to be in standby mode after experiencing some kind of power surge. There were life signs aboard 2 distinct patterns, one humanoid and one something else. Tara looked up from her console. "The humanoid reading is unlike anything in our database, Commander. And the secondary reading is showing energy patterns similar to Class 4 sentient reptiles, but much smaller." Abby considered their options. Federation protocol recommended observation from a distance when dealing with unknown species. But the ship was clearly disabled, possibly in need of assistance. And there was something about those energy patterns that seemed oddly familiar, like a half-forgotten dream. "Prepare a boarding team." She decided, medical and science personnel. Only no visible weapons. Tara looked concerned. "Commander, regulations state." "I know the regulations," Abby interrupted, "but that ship needs help. And something tells me this is important." The boarding team assembled in the shuttle bay. 6 crew members, including Tara, who would lead the mission as science officer. They wore standard environmental suits with transparent helmets, allowing their faces to be seen. A gesture of peace rather than the sealed combat armor military teams would use. "Be careful," Abby told them over the comm as the shuttle departed. "Remember first contact protocols. No sudden movements, maintain distance, speak slowly and clearly. The universal translator should handle linguistic differences." The shuttle extended a flexible docking tube connecting to the crystalline ship. The team entered cautiously, lights from their suits illuminating the darkened interior. The ship design was strange, with organic curves and surfaces that seemed to respond to their presence, changing color slightly as they passed. Tara moved ahead, scanner in hand. "The life signs are coming from the control room," she reported. "Just ahead." The team entered a circular chamber filled with what appeared to be living technology. Crystal controls pulsed with soft light, and the walls themselves seemed to breathe. The room was warm despite the power failure, and smelled of something sweet like flowers. In the center of the room, they found an unconscious figure slumped over a crystal console. Long silver hair spilled over slender shoulders. Skin with a pale blue tint caught the light from their suits. The figure was humanoid, but clearly not human. With elongated features and pointed ears, and wrapped protectively around this being was a small creature that looked like a miniature dragon. Its scales shifted between red and gold, and tiny wisps of smoke curled from its nostrils as it watched the boarding team with intelligent eyes. The dragon hissed a warning as they approached, revealing sharp teeth. "Easy," Tara said softly, lowering herself to appear less threatening. "We want to help." The dragon creature tilted its head, studying her, then surprisingly relaxed its protective stance. It made a chirping sound, almost like a questioned medical officer. Kate stepped forward, scanner running. "The humanoid is stable but experiencing some kind of shock. The small reptile appears healthy, but its biology is unlike anything in our database. We should bring them back to the Vanguard." Tara decided this ship's Life support is barely functioning and our medical bay is better equipped to help them. The dragon creature seemed to understand their intentions. It nudged its unconscious companion and then looked at the humans expectantly. Kate carefully lifted the slender alien while Tara held out her arm to the dragon. After a moment of consideration, the small creature hopped onto her shoulder, its tail wrapping loosely around her neck for balance. The boarding team returned to the Vanguard, bringing their unexpected guests directly to the medical bay. Kate and her team worked quickly, connecting monitoring equipment and administering stabilizing treatments. The alien remained unconscious, but vital signs were strengthening. Abby arrived in the medical bay, her eyes widening at the sight of the blue-skinned being on the exam table, and the small dragon perched nearby, watching everything with alert eyes. It's like something from the old stories, she whispered, stories her grandmother had told her as a child, tales of elegant beings with remarkable abilities who had disappeared from known space long before recorded history. The dragon creature chirped at her approach, hopping from its perch to the foot of the bed where its companion lay. Abby cautiously extended her hand palm up in a gesture she hoped would appear peaceful. The dragon sniffed her fingers, then pressed its small head against her hand. "Seems you made a friend," Kate observed as she checked the monitors. "The alien is stabilizing, but still unconscious. Physically, their anatomy is similar to ours but with significant differences. Advanced sensory structures, enhanced neural pathways. And they were carrying this," Tara added, holding up a metal disc covered in unfamiliar symbols. "The material is unlike anything in our database, but the energy signature matches old records from before the Nexus." Warzabby took the disc, feeling an odd tingling sensation as her fingers touched the surface. For a moment, she thought she heard whispers, distant voices speaking in an unknown language. The sensation passed quickly, but left her feeling strangely connected to the object. "Whatever they are, they came looking for us," Abby said. "They crossed the nebula boundary deliberately." "How can you be sure?" Tara asked, just a feeling. Abby admitted, looking at the unconscious alien. She wanted to stay until their visitor woke up, but duty called her back to the bridge. The nebula boundary was unpredictable, and the Vanguard needed to maintain its position. "Keep me informed," she ordered, heading back to command. Several hours passed. The Vanguard held position near the disabled alien craft, while engineering teams studied its unusual technology. The dragon creature refused to leave the medical bay, keeping constant watch over its companion. Kate reported that it accepted food and seemed to understand simple gestures, suggesting high intelligence. Abby was reviewing sensor logs when the call came from Medical Bay Commander. "Our guest is waking." But when Abby arrived, the alien was sitting up on the exam bed, silver hair falling around slender shoulders. Large almond-shaped eyes with vertical pupils took in the surroundings. The dragon had positioned itself in the alien's lap, receiving gentle strokes along its spine. The alien looked at Abby and the medical team, then spoke in a musical language unlike anything they had heard before. The universal translator failed to interpret the words. Abby stepped forward and gestured to herself. "My name is Abby Winters," she said, speaking slowly and clearly. The alien watched her lips move, then touched her own throat. There was a moment of concentration, and then the alien spoke again. This time the words were understandable, though accented strangely. "I'm Lily Starfall, Chief Archivist of Elandoria." The alien looked directly into Abby's eyes with a mixture of terror and wonder. "I believed humans were only a legend, but you're real." The words hung in the air between them, a revelation that shook Abby's understanding of galactic history. Humans had stories about elegant beings who had vanished from known space, but they had been considered myths. Nothing more. "You're an elf." Abby said the word from ancient Earth legends, feeling strange on her tongue. Lily nodded, her expression serious. "We have been watching the stars for many centuries, living in isolation since the Great Collapse. Our histories speak of humans as a powerful but destructive species that vanished after a cataclysmic event. I came searching for the truth," the dragon chirped, climbing up to Lily's shoulder. Its scales now shimmered with golden light, reflecting its excitement. "This is Ember, my companion," Lily explained. "She is a guardian worm, though still very young. Her kind has always had a special connection to both elves and humans, though few remember why. Abby had dozens of questions, but before she could ask them, the ship alarm sounded. Tara's voice came over the intercom commander. We have multiple contacts approaching fast unknown configuration, but massive energy signatures. Lily's face paled at the news. Her hand went to her throat. Where are they coming from? The depths of the nebula, Tara reported. They emerged suddenly from some kind of spatial anomaly. The elf stood up shakily. Ember helping her balance, we must leave now. Those are Void Herald ships, they will destroy everything in their path. Abby led Lily to the bridge where the view screen showed the Vanguard limped through space, its engines straining under maximum output. The Void Herald ships followed relentless in their pursuit. 3 shadow vessels against 1 damaged human ship. The odds were not in their favor. On the bridge commander, Abby Winters coordinated the defense efforts. Their weapons had proven largely ineffective against the living shadow matter of the enemy hulls. Only direct hits to what appeared to be propulsion nodes had any effect, and those were well-protected. Lily. Starfall stood beside the tactical display, her slender blue fingers tracing the enemy formation. Ember, the small dragon, perched on her shoulder scales, shifting between deep red and bright gold as she sensed the danger surrounding them. We cannot outrun them, Lily said, her musical voice tight with worry. The Void. Heralds never abandon a hunt once they have targeted a vessel. They can track consciousness itself across vast distances. Abby looked at the elf woman, still trying to process everything that had happened since they discovered the crystalline ship. The existence of elves was shocking enough, but now they faced an enemy out of legend. The crew followed her orders with professional efficiency, but she could sense their fear. Tara approached. From the science station, commander analysis shows unusual energy patterns whenever the enemy weapons hit us. The energy isn't just damaging our systems, it's somehow feeding off them. Growing stronger with each attack, Lily nodded grimly. That is how they operate. They consume energy, especially the energy of living minds. They do not wish to destroy the ship. They want to board it to feed directly on our consciousness. A weapons officer called out incoming fire. The Vanguard shuddered as another dark energy beam struck the hull. Power fluctuated throughout the ship, making lights dim momentarily. Ember suddenly leaped from Lily's shoulder, landing on the deck with surprising grace. The small dragon growled, her entire body beginning to glow. With intense energy, Lily stepped back, eyes wide with surprise as Ember spread her small wings. I don't think she has ever done this before, Lily whispered. The dragon grew brighter until the bridge crew had to shield their eyes. When the light faded, Ember stood unchanged in size, but now a shimmering force field surrounded her body. The next Void. Herald attack struck the Vanguard and something remarkable happened. The dark energy beam seemed to bend toward Ember. The dragon absorbed the attack, her scales glowing brighter with each moment of contact. The shadow ships ceased fire abruptly, as if confused by this development. She absorbed their energy. Abby said in amazement, "How is that possible?" Lily approached Ember, carefully kneeling beside. The small dragon guardian worms were created as weapons against the Void. But I thought those were just stories. I never imagined Ember was actually. Another crew member interrupted. Status report from engineering: main power down to 40%, shields at 28%. We can't take much more, Commander. Abby made a decision. Set course for Earth Colony Outpost, Delta 7. It's the closest Federation base with significant defenses. As the helmsmen adjusted their course, Abby pulled Lily aside. We need to know everything you can tell us about these Void Heralds. What are they exactly? How were they defeated in the past? Lily took a deep breath, her large eyes reflecting the stars visible through the view screen. The Void Heralds are ancient entities. They existed before either of our species. They dwell in the space between dimensions, feeding on consciousness. They cannot be reasoned with or negotiated with. They consume and move on. And how were they defeated? Abby pressed. The memories have been fragmented deliberately, so Lily explained. Our ancestors erected powerful barriers in our collective consciousness after the last war with the Void. But from what I have learned, they were driven back by a weapon created through the combined efforts of humans and elves. She gestured to Ember, who had returned to normal. The dragon climbed up Lily's arm, returning to her shoulder. Perch guardian worms like Ember were part of that weapon, but not the entire solution. There was something about resonance between our species, but the full knowledge was split between our peoples for safekeeping. The ship computer announced their arrival at Earth Colony Outpost Delta 7. The small mining colony had been established 30 years earlier around a rich asteroid belt. The outpost featured defensive capabilities meant to deter pirate raids, not to repel an invasion force, but it was their best option. The Vanguard docked at the outpost while the Void Herald ships held position just outside weapons range. Abby ordered immediate evacuation of all non-essential personnel from the Vanguard and requested reinforcements from Earth Command in the outpost's conference room. Abby introduced Lily to Governor Michelle Reed, the civilian administrator of Delta 7. The governor's eyes widened at the sight of the blue-skinned elf and her dragon companion. So the old stories were true, Michelle said after hearing their explanation. Elves and dragons. I always thought they were myths from Earth. We thought the same about humans, Lily replied with a small smile. But here we are. The past connects us whether we remember it or not. Michelle turned to Abby. This is beyond my authority. Commander, we need to contact Earth. Command immediately. The communications officer established a secure channel to Earth Command headquarters. Admiral Samantha Gray appeared on the main screen, her stern face showing concern as Abby briefed her on the situation. The Admiral listened, without interruption until Abby finished her report. Then her eyes narrowed as she looked at Lily. You expect me to believe that elves exist, and that some ancient enemy from another dimension is attacking us? Admiral Gray said, skepticism clear in her voice. The Federation has explored space for centuries without encountering either. Lily stepped forward. I understand your doubt, Admiral. Our peoples have been separated for millennia by choice and by magic, but the threat is real. The Void Heralds have returned, and they will not stop with one ship or one outpost. They will consume every conscious mind in this galaxy, if we do not stop them. The Admiral began to respond when alarms blared throughout the outpost. A security officer rushed into the conference room, Governor multiple contacts approaching. They matched the profile of the shadow ships, but smaller scouts maybe. Abby's blood ran cold. They found us on the security monitors. They watched as dozens of small shadow vessels swarmed toward the outpost. The automated defense systems activated, firing energy weapons at the approaching enemy. But as Lily had warned, the weapons had little effect. The shadow scouts absorbed the energy, growing stronger with each hit. Admiral Gray watched the attack through the communication link, her expression changing from skepticism to grim acceptance. How do we fight these things? Lily looked to Ember. The small dragon had begun to glow again, sensing the approaching threat. We need to recover the ancient weapon, the one our ancestors created together. But the knowledge was split between our peoples for safekeeping. Where would we find this weapon? Abby asked, on Elandoria. Lily replied, my homeworld. The Elven High Council guards ancient archives that contain part of the knowledge we need. But to reach my world, we must pass back through the nebula, past the main void. Herald Fleet Admiral. Gray made her decision. Commander Winters, your new orders are to escort our guest back to her homeworld. Retrieve this weapon or the knowledge needed to create it. The Federation will dispatch a battle group to Delta 7 to hold off these scout ships and protect our colonies. Thank you, Admiral, Abby said. This is against my better judgment, Gray added. But we appear to have no choice. The Vanguard is being reinforced with a squadron of our newest fighters and additional crew. Your ship leaves in 6 hours. Make them count. After the Admiral ended the transmission, Abby turned to Lily. What else do we need to know before we attempt this mission? Lily hesitated, her fingers stroking Ember's scales. The dragon purred softly, providing comfort. The truth is, I was not supposed to seek out humans. The Elven High Council forbade exploration beyond the nebula. They believed our separation was necessary for both our people's safety. Why? Abby asked. Lily sighed. Because together, Our species are capable of great and terrible things. The Void Heralds were not the only enemy we faced in ancient times. We also fought each other. The great collapse that separated our civilizations began as a war between elves and humans before we united against the Void. So the High Council might not welcome us. Abby concluded. They might see your arrival as a threat, Lily admitted. But Elder Willow, my mentor, knows more about the ancient times than anyone. She will help us if she can. During the next 6 hours, the Vanguard underwent emergency repairs. While the technicians worked, Lily and Ember familiarized themselves with the ship and its crew. The small dragon became something of a mascot, following engineers through the corridors and watching repairs with curious eyes. Abby found Lily in the observation lounge staring out at the stars. The elf woman seemed lost in thought, her silver hair reflecting the starlight. They look different from here, Lily said without turning. The stars, I mean. From Elandoria, they have different patterns, different stories attached to them. Abby stood beside her. Our ancestors must have shared. The stars once known the same constellations. Lily nodded. During the repairs, I studied your historical archives, the stories your people tell about elves. They are not so different from the stories my people tell about humans. Powerful, beautiful, dangerous, did. Your people also tell stories about dragons, Abby asked, watching as Ember explored the lounge, sniffing at strange human objects. We call them guardian worms, Lily explained. The Vanguard approached the swirling green wall of the Emerald Nebula with caution. The 12 Starfire fighters formed a protective screen around the larger vessel, their sleek hulls catching the strange light of the nebula gases. Ember perched on the bridge railing, her scales shifting to match the emerald hues visible through the view screen. The small dragon seemed agitated, sensing what waited beyond. Long-range scanners detected the Void Herald fleet positioned just inside the nebula. Boundary 6 massive shadow ships, their dark hulls absorbing light rather than reflecting it. They had not moved since the Vanguard's escape, as if they knew their prey would return. Lily stood beside Commander Abby Winters at the tactical display, her silver hair braided tightly for battle. Her blue fingers traced the enemy formation with practiced ease. They are waiting for us, she said. They know we must pass through to reach Elandoria. Abby studied the tactical options. None of them looked promising. A direct confrontation would be suicide even with the fighter escort. The Void Heralds had proven largely immune to their weapons. The only advantage they had discovered was Ember's ability to absorb and redirect the enemy energy attacks. But the small dragon could not protect an entire fleet. We need a diversion, Abby decided. Something to draw them away from our path, even for a few minutes. Tactical Officer Lindsay suggested using the Starfire fighters to launch a feint attack from multiple vectors. The small craft were faster and more maneuverable than the Void ships. They could potentially create enough confusion for the Vanguard to slip through. It's risky, Abby acknowledged, but better than any alternative. Prepare the fighter squadrons as the crew made preparations. Lily approached Abby with an idea. The ancient chart I found in the Forbidden Wing, she explained. It shows a hidden path through the nebula, a route the elven ships used during the last war with the Void. The path might still exist. Abby immediately ordered the navigational team to analyze Lily's chart. The elven markings were difficult to interpret, but eventually they identified what appeared to be a narrow corridor through the nebula gases. The passage would be treacherous, nearly impossible to navigate without precise coordinates. But if it existed, it would allow them to bypass the Void Herald fleet entirely. We have to try it, Abby decided. Recall half the fighters to escort us. The rest will proceed with the diversion as planned. The plan was set in motion. 6 Starfire fighters broke formation, accelerating toward the nebula boundary at different angles. Their weapons fired continuous bursts, creating a light show that drew the attention of the Void Herald scouts. The massive shadow ships responded as expected, breaking formation to intercept what they perceived as an attack. With the enemy distracted, the Vanguard and its remaining escorts slipped toward the hidden corridor. Lily guided them, using the ancient chart and her innate elven senses. The nebula gases swirled thicker here, obscuring sensors and making visual navigation impossible. Trust the chart, not your instruments, Lily advised as the ship entered the swirling mists. The passage, was created with elven magic. The nebula itself protects it from detection. The Vanguard shuddered as it passed through the boundary. Energy fluctuations rippled through the ship, causing minor systems to fail. Ember glowed brightly, absorbing the worst of the energy spikes. Her small body trembled with the effort, but she maintained her protective field. For what seemed like hours, they traveled blind through the green mists. Communications with the fighter escort faded, then failed completely. The crew worked in tense silence, trusting their elven guide and the ancient chart. Then suddenly the mists parted, revealing a sight that took their breath away: Elendoria. The elven homeworld shimmered like a jewel against the darkness of space. Its surface was a tapestry of crystalline cities and vast forests that glowed with their own inner light. Graceful spires reached toward the stars, connected by bridges that seemed impossibly delicate. 7 moons of varying sizes orbited the planet, their surfaces, reflecting rainbow patterns onto the world below. Lily gasped, her eyes filling with tears home. But something was wrong. The orbital defense platforms that should have greeted them were dark and silent. Debris floated in the space around Elendoria, evidence of a recent battle. They were here, Lily whispered. The void. Heralds found another way through. Abby ordered immediate scans of the planet's surface. Readings showed significant damage to several elven cities. The largest damage cluster centered around what Lily identified as the capital city of Luminara, where the Grand Library and High Council chambers were located. The ship computer detected numerous small craft fleeing the surface. Some appeared to be elven rescue vessels, while others matched the profile of Void Herald scout ships. The battle for Elendoria was already underway. Lily clutched the railing, her knuckles white. My people, they were not prepared for this. I should have been here, I should have warned them. Abby placed a hand on the elf's shoulder. You couldn't have known. The void moved faster than either of us expected. Communications officer Maya reported an incoming transmission from the planet's surface. It was weak, heavily distorted, but recognizable as elven language. Lily listened intently, her expression brightening. It's Elder Willow, she said. She survived. She and others have retreated to the ancient underground sanctuaries beneath the Grand Library. She says the High Council was taken in the first attack. Elder Willow provided landing coordinates. The location was a hidden facility in the mountains far from the main battle zones. Abby ordered the Vanguard into orbit while she prepared a landing party. The 6 Starfire fighters would provide air support against any void vessels that approached. Lily insisted on joining the landing team. Ember would not leave her side. The small dragon had grown even more protective since their return to elven space. Abby selected 5 crew members to accompany them, including Tara and Lindsay. Both women had developed a rapport with Lily during their journey. The shuttle descended through Elendoria's atmosphere. The air was thinner than Earth standard, but breathable for humans. The vegetation below shimmered with bioluminescence, bathing the landscape in soft blue and purple light. Under different circumstances, it would have been breathtaking. Now smoke rose from distant cities, casting dark shadows across the beautiful landscape. They landed in a concealed hangar built into the side of a crystal mountain. The entrance sealed behind them, hiding their presence from overhead sensors. Elder Willow was waiting for them. Her ancient face lined with worry, but her eyes bright with determination. The elf's skin had a pale green tint, and her white hair was arranged in complex braids that had partially come undone in her flight from the capital. Lily ran to her mentor, embracing her. Ember chirped a greeting from her shoulder. You found them, Elder, Willow said, looking past Lily to the humans. The legends made real. Abby stepped forward, extending her hand in greeting. Commander Abby Winters, Earth Federation. We came as soon as we learned of the threat, Elder. Willow studied her with ancient eyes. I always believed we would meet again, though not like this, not with the void returned. She led them through crystalline corridors deeper into the mountain. The sanctuary had clearly been prepared long ago for just such an emergency. Food stores, medical facilities, and living quarters for hundreds of refugees. Elven survivors moved through the halls, many injured, some caring for others. All stopped to stare at the human visitors, their expressions a mixture of fear, wonder, and hope. The void Heralds, attacked without warning, Elder Willow explained as they walked. They struck first at our defense platforms, then at the High Council itself. It was as if they knew exactly where to find our leaders. Many were taken alive, Abby asked. They feed on consciousness, Elder Willow said grimly. Particularly advanced minds like those of our council members. Each one they consume makes them stronger. They reached a large circular chamber deep within the mountain. The walls were covered in ancient murals depicting scenes from a forgotten war, elves and humans fighting side by side against shadowy figures. Guardian worms of enormous size soaring above the battlefield, breathing light instead of fire. Elder Willow gestured to the murals. The truth our peoples chose to forget. After the Great War, we decided separation was safer than unity. We feared the power we wielded together. So we created the memory barriers and went our separate ways. The Void Heralds were banished, but not destroyed. Now, they have returned. And we are not ready. Ember suddenly leaped from Lily's shoulder, landing in the center of the chamber. The small dragon raised her head, sniffing the air. Her scales began to glow, not with the protective energy they had seen before, but with a soft golden light that spread across the floor, revealing patterns invisible until that moment. Ancient writing appeared beneath their feet. Symbols that were neither elven nor human, but something in between. Lily knelt, examining the markings. It's the old language, she said with wonder. The shared tongue from before the separation. I can almost understand it. Elder Willow nodded. Ember is not merely a pet dragon, Lily. She is the last offspring of the Guardian, worms created through the combined science and magic of humans and elves. The last hope of both our peoples. The elder elf approached a section of wall that appeared solid, but responded to her touch, revealing a hidden passage. Follow me, she said. There is something you must see. They descended deeper into the mountain. The air grew warmer, charged with strange energy that made the human skin tingle, and caused Lily's hair to float slightly as if underwater. Ember led the way, now moving. The Void Heralds entered the portal chamber, 3 shadow figures with forms that seemed to shift and change, as if unable to maintain solid shape in this reality. Their eyes were empty voids that pulled at the consciousness of anyone who looked. Directly into them, Abby felt the mental attack immediately, a cold sensation trying to drag her thoughts away from her body. She tightened her grip on Lily's hand, focusing on their connection to resist. Lily stood her ground, though tears still streaked her face from witnessing Elder Willow's sacrifice. The elf woman was transformed now, her eyes glowing with inherited memories. Thousands of years of knowledge passed to her in an instant. Through their linked minds, Abby felt fragments of this wisdom, ancient battle strategies, and most importantly, the true nature of what they faced. The Void Heralds are not just consuming consciousness, Lily projected into their shared mental space. They are collecting it. Building toward something, Ember growled, her small body still hovering at the apex of the portal. The dragon's scales now shone with blinding intensity, light pouring from her in waves that pushed back the shadows surrounding their enemies. But the Void Heralds continued to advance unaffected by the conventional energies that had slowed their servants. More shadow figures appeared in the passage behind the first 3. Then more dozens of Void Heralds converging on the chamber, the vanguard of an invasion force. The air grew heavy, with their presence making it difficult to breathe, difficult to think. Abby drew her sidearm, but Lily shook her head. Conventional weapons are useless against their true form. They exist partially in another dimension. Then what do we do? Abby asked. Still, maintaining their physical and mental connection. Keep the portal active. Lily replied. The signal is still spreading. The Guardian. Worms are awakening. The portal continued to pulse with energy, though without Elder Willow's contribution. It was weakening. The starlight doorway flickered, threatening to collapse. Before it did, they glimpsed scenes through the dimensional window. Earth cities gleaming in sunlight. Elven forests bathed in moonlight. And hidden places where large shapes stirred from ancient slumber, eyes opening, scales beginning to glow. The lead Void Herald raised a shadowy appendage toward them. The cold mental attack intensified, focusing particularly on Ember. The small dragon screeched in pain, but maintained her position at the portal apex. Her protective energy field flickered, weakening under the assault. We need to buy more time. Abby thought desperately. Lily received the thought and responded with a memory not her own, but Elder Willow's. The ancient elf had known this moment might come, had prepared for it. In the floor beneath the portal was a final defense mechanism. Without speaking, Lily guided Abby's hand to join hers on a crystal formation near their feet. Together they pressed down, activating the hidden control. Crystal. Spears erupted from the chamber walls, piercing the nearest void heralds. The spears glowed with the same energy as the portal, momentarily disrupting the shadow beings' forms. It won't hold them long, Lily warned. But perhaps long enough through their connection. Abby sensed something new. A response to the signal they had sent, not just from dormant guardian worms, but from Earth. From the Federation fleet. Admiral Gray had promised reinforcements were coming from both their peoples. But would they arrive in time? The mental attack from the Void Heralds intensified. The shadow beings began to merge their forms, flowing together into a larger entity that filled the chamber entrance. A collective consciousness stronger than the individual parts. Abby felt her thoughts growing sluggish, her grip on Lily's hand weakening as the cold void pulled at her mind. Ember sensed their weakening. She abandoned her position at the portal, diving between Abby and Lily. The small dragon expanded her protective field to encompass all three of them, creating a bubble of light in the growing darkness. The portal began to collapse without the dragon's energy to sustain it. "We're losing it," Abby said through gritted teeth. Lily closed her eyes, drawing on Elder Willow's memories. "There is another way," she said, "a temporary measure, but it might work. The three of us together." Through their mental link, Lily shared the knowledge, a technique from the ancient war, a way to combine their consciousness temporarily into a stronger whole. That was the true secret, the weapon their ancestors had created. Not technology, but unity, the deliberate merging of different minds to create something greater than the sum of its parts. "It's dangerous," Lily warned. "We might not be able to separate again." Abby met her gaze. "No choice." The elf nodded. "Together then." They pressed their foreheads together with Ember between them, forming a triangle of contact. The dragon's scales touched both their skin, completing the circuit. Energy flowed. Between them, no longer just a connection, but a merging. Becoming Abby's sense of self expanded to include Lily's memories, experiences, perspectives. The archive of elven knowledge passed from Elder Willow flooded into her human understanding. She felt Lily's emotions, her determination, her grief, her hope. She felt Ember's primal power, her protective instinct, her ancient lineage connecting back to the first guardian, worms, and they felt her. They experienced human adaptability, ingenuity, determination. Her scientific knowledge blended with elven wisdom. Her tactical training merged with Ember's instinctive battle sense. They became one mind in three bodies. The void. Herald Collective recoiled, sensing the change. The mental attack intensified, but now slid off their merged consciousness, unable to find purchase, unable to separate what had become united. In this new shared awareness, they understood exactly what to do. Ember grew. Her physical form expanded from cat-sized to wolf-sized to larger. Still her wings extended, filling the chamber with light. Golden scales hardened into armor. Her small head elongated, growing a crown of crystalline spines. Her tail whipped against the stone floor, cracking the ancient surface. The dragon had revealed her true form, a stellar guardian. Worm not yet fully grown, but powerful beyond anything they had imagined. The transformation released a pulse of energy that temporarily drove back the void. Herald Collective. Through Ember's eyes, they saw the world differently. Energy patterns became visible. The flowing currents of power that connected all living things. The wounds in reality where the void heralds had forced their way through. The thinning barriers between dimensions. And most importantly, they saw the portal network. Not just the single gateway in the chamber, but the entire system spanning galaxies, dormant, but not dead, waiting to be awakened. Together they channeled their combined energy into the portal. Ember, now large enough to physically maintain the connection with her body. The starlight doorway stabilized, then expanded. The dimensional window showed not just glimpses but clear views of multiple locations: Earth, elven colonies, hidden guardian worm nests, and in those places, awareness. Of the connection through the portal network, their merged consciousness reached out, touching other minds. Human, elven, draconic. A psychic call to arms more powerful than any signal device could generate. They shared the knowledge, the memories, the understanding of what they faced. We are not alone. They realized on Earth Admiral Samantha Gray stood on the bridge of the Federation flagship, Justice. The massive warship led a fleet of 40 vessels assembled to respond to Commander Winter's distress signal. The Admiral had been skeptical at first, but the evidence had become undeniable. When Void Herald scouts began attacking human outposts across 3 systems, she had acted with decisive force. Now, as the fleet approached the coordinates of the Emerald Nebula, something strange happened. Every crew member on every ship experienced the same vision. Memories not their own. Knowledge they shouldn't possess. Understanding of an ancient enemy and ancient allies. The Admiral looked at her communications. Officer, did everyone? Yes, Mom. The officer confirmed, her eyes wide. Every ship reports the same experience on the view screen. A section of the nebula began to glow. The swirling gases parted, revealing a massive portal forming in space, a gateway large, enough for the entire fleet to pass through. Admiral Gray made her decision without hesitation. Take us through. Throughout elven space, a similar awakening occurred. In hidden bunkers and remote settlements, survivors of the Void Herald attack received the merged consciousness call. The scattered elven defense forces rallied around a new purpose. Not just survival, but reunion with their long-forgotten human allies. And in secret places scattered across both territories, guardian worms awakened from stasis. Thousands of dragon-like beings, from small scouts like Ember, had been to massive stellar guardians larger than battleships. Their hibernation ended by the call of the merged consciousness. In the portal chamber beneath Elandoria, Abby Lilly and Ember in her true form maintained their position against the Void Herald collective. The shadow entity continued to grow, absorbing more of its kind, becoming a singularity of cold void that threatened to consume everything. Through the portal, they sensed the approaching reinforcements, but the void sensed it too. The shadow collective surged forward, determined to stop the connection before help could arrive. Ember roared, her voice no longer a small chirp, but a thunderous challenge that shook the mountain. The dragon exhaled, not fire but pure energy. A beam of concentrated light that struck the Void Collective, forcing it back momentarily. We can't hold much longer, they thought. As one, the merged consciousness was taking its toll on their physical bodies. The strain of maintaining the portal and fighting the void simultaneously was overwhelming them. Then through the dimensional gateway they saw the Justice,